Welcome to Offshore Renewables Unplugged. My name is Benjamin Lehner. I'm the CEO of DMEC, and I'm here today with one of our experts in environmental monitoring, a topic which I find fascinating. Sarah, so great to have you.
Thanks a lot for having me.
So, environmental monitoring. I mean, we are monitoring the environment just right now, but what is it?
Well, environmental monitoring in the end is all about collecting data and getting a better understanding of what happens in the marine ecosystem.
So we go out there, collect whatever we can find.
Basically, that is it, basically. I mean, it depends a bit on your interests. For example, in some surveys, you are more interested in birds or in marine mammals or in certain pressures, like, for example, noise of human activities. But I mean, ideally, you would actually be interested in collecting everything that you can, basically.
Okay.
Linked to the, I would say most often the monitoring activities are linked to a kind of a human activity that is taking place, for example, offshore wind or so. But yeah.
So when we do a human activity, we want to understand what actually is the impact of this human activity on the environment. That's why we do environmental monitoring.
That's correct.
And I have the feeling it's getting more and more important and more audience or questions around environmental monitoring. Why is that? Why is now the time of environmental monitoring, offshore especially?
Yes. No, it's a very good observation, because indeed environmental monitoring is becoming more and more important because, well, I would say there's two reasons for it. If we stick to, what we're working on, like offshore wind or offshore renewable energy projects, there's really a lot of ambitions to get, megawatt, gigawatt installed, because of course there is a climate change and we need a solution to it, which is partly the energy transition. So we want to have clean electricity. At the moment in the EU, we have about 21 gigawatt of offshore wind installed, which can supply about 21 million households. It's already quite nice. But
that's easy to remember. 21 gigawatt, 21 million households. That's a nice one.
Yeah. But of course, 21 million, although it might sound already like a lot, but the EU is way bigger than that. So that's why also the EU has way more ambitious goals for offshore wind to achieve. So by the end of the decade, or by 2050, we want to get to 360 gigawatt of offshore wind installed.
360 gigawatts?
Yes.
How can I imagine that?
That is about 50,000 square kilometers, if I remember.
Okay, I cannot imagine that, but thanks for trying. So 50,000, okay, numbers, good. But we want to build a lot, right?
Yes, exactly.
We want to build a lot. That's 360 gigawatts, 360 million households on 50,000 square kilometers of, and we want to monitor all of that.
Yes, well, that, it sounds very ambitious. We have not yet quite come to the reason why we want to monitor. I mean, we have already now defined why, like, there is a lot of human activity, but I mean, so what, right? Why is it important to understand what's going on? But this is because the seas are not doing great. Unfortunately, the EU had the ambition to achieve good environmental status for all their marine sea basins, or for all their sea basins by 2020. We're now in 2026, and this goal has not yet been achieved.
Okay.
This is of course a pity, and we want to make sure that we have an energy transition that goes, let's say, hand in hand with, also having healthy oceans. So to understand what the effects of the human activity like offshore winds are in the sea, we need to understand what the effects of it are. And also, a better understanding of the effects that this has on the marine ecosystem will then also be the basis for defining mitigation measures, for example, of how we can, decrease the effects or minimize them, or then even eventually how we can also enhance the marine ecosystem.
So you're saying we really need this energy transition, but our sea basins are not really doing so wonderfully in Europe because of all the human activities as well.
Yeah.
And therefore we need environmental monitoring to make sure that that we at least understand what we are doing and can then find solutions to reduce this impact.
Yes, exactly. And of course, it is not on the ecosystem degradation is, of course, not only linked to offshore wind, or the impact that offshore wind is playing there only also needs to be better understood. But it is, as you said, also due to all the other human activities that have also been ongoing for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, in many sea basins, we don't really have yet offshore wind. Like
Exactly.
in the Mediterranean, a little bit, in the Black Sea, not at all. And in the Atlantic Ocean, also just starting, right? So
yeah, that's true.
there needs to be other things as well.
Very much. Yeah.
But so this is like why we are performing environmental monitoring. You already teased it a bit what environmental monitoring is, but explain to me. Like I don't have a clue, because what I'm thinking now is I go with my ship out there. I have a person there standing and monitoring. But how now?
You do that?
Yeah, I can't see the water. I mean, looking down there, the water is actually quite not very
clear.
transparent, not very clear. So how can I see into the water? What are methods there? What do people do? And does there really somebody need to stand on a ship and do things? Or is there better ways?
Yeah. So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of different methods, technology.
I want to learn about them all.
About them all. Okay. I do my best. So first of all, maybe to go one step back, you were asking, is it necessary that a person needs to stand on the boat? Well, sometimes environmental monitoring is still performed by humans, not only standing on boats, but actually going into the water.
Okay.
So you have sometimes divers that then go, for example, to the turbines and scratch off parts of the of what grew there to assess how this changes over time.
How deep do they go? I mean,
how deep these divers go? That is a good question. I don't know, but I mean, in the North Sea, the most offshore wind farms that have been built are at about 50 to 80 meters water depth. But how far the divers go, that is a good question. I'm not quite sure about it. But yeah, I mean, I assume that there is, or like, let's say it differently. Divers are, of course, super expensive. And the deeper you go, I assume the risk increases as well. So there's maybe a certain limit that you can reach with divers. And also, I mean, you don't want to, if you go out there, take a sample and then go out maybe in a month again, of course, things might be happening in the meantime that you're then missing, that you're not able to monitor.
So divers are not the best way to go down there. Well, it's a way, but it's not the best way. So you just told me about the divers. What other methods are out there? So diving down there sounds like a lot of effort.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of effort. It can, of course, also become expensive quite quickly. So there is a need for other more cost-effective ways of doing environmental monitoring. One way is basically going back to that a person stands on the boat to go out with some kind of vessel and then, for example, let down underwater cameras that are still connected by cable or so to the people on the boat. So it's a
bit like fishing. I'm standing here with my cable and letting the camera down and look a bit around. Nice.
Yes. So that is a way. But again, still, of course, humans are involved in this, even though it's not divers in that case, but it is people on the boat.
But it's also a very, very, very different thing. What do these people now measure? Like the divers, you said, they take a scrap and they then bring that up and then some very smart person in the lab analyzes it.
Yes.
And with the cameras, then there's video analysis of what animals are waving into the camera.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That is one thing that you can monitor with these cameras. Often the interest is on often these cameras are then directed to the actual infrastructure, so like the turbines in the water, because that is where a lot happens. I mean, we have this artificial reef effect, so that every introduction of hard substrate in salty water, kind of attracts species and species start to grow on it. So then you want to understand, okay, what is actually happening there?
So artificial reef, just for me, it means that we're putting something down there and then artificially a reef is growing. So we don't put an artificial reef.
We don't put anything except for the turbine, which is like hard substrate. And
because that stuff starts growing on it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and that's good sometimes.
also a very interesting question. Yes, it can be good because it can attract, like when you have artificial reefs growing, they then attract fish because fish can feed on the species growing there. These fish then attract larger predators like marine mammals and so on. So it can actually be the start of the creation of a new ecosystem, or an ecosystem that wasn't there before. The question whether it's positive or negative, this is not a very easy one, because on the one hand you can say it's very nice that we have a greater diversity of species living in offshore wind farms, which is a sign that actually offshore wind farms can also do something explicitly positive for the marine environment. But there's also some people are also saying that it could also be kind of a stepping stone or an entry for invasive alien species into a sea basin. So basically, invasive alien species, that are species that are not native to that region and that have negative effects on the local ecosystem.
And to understand both, so if it's positive, if it's negative, we need more environmental monitoring.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need more environmental monitoring because we have not sufficient data yet to really get a clear picture on this.
So let's go back to the method. So we had now divers, we had cameras going down there, we had
well, there's for example, then if we want to stay with cameras, you can also have local cameras be deployed, for example, on seabed landers. Seabed landers is a structure that you basically let sink to the ground, to the seafloor, and then you can put a lot of different monitoring devices on it. It can again be cameras, it can also be hydrophones. So basically to listen to the sound.
So hydrophones is just microphone but underwater.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And hydrophones can be used to monitor both pressures and then also the ecosystem. So you can detect noise caused by human actions, so from the operational wind farms or also from ships passing by or from maintenance ships or so. But of course, you can also detect all the soundscape that the fish and other species around produce.
Okay. So on the one hand, you monitor the other human activities, but you also monitor actually the wildlife and how it interacts with the. So exactly. I think that's true for most of this measurement, or for a lot of measurement methods like video and hydrophones and so on. Or
I think it is true for a lot of these. That's true. Maybe one that is a bit I'm now thinking of, for example, eDNA.
What is that?
So eDNA, you take a water sample and then you filtrate it through or you put it through a filter, and that way you can then later on in the lab detect or assess which species are left DNA in the water that you collected.
So it's just a compendium of all the different kind of species DNAs you could find in this water sample.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So
does it say anything? I mean, it sounds like a really messy, kind of sample.
Yeah, and I assume it is also maybe if you want messy, it gives you a lot of data, a lot of output.
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't directly say that a species whose DNA you found in that water was there, like in the last, I don't know. Was there recently, but it is an indication that it was around. And one advantage of eDNA is, of course, that you can get an idea of all these different species that you can detect based on your
their genetics.
Based on their genetics. So it is it can be quite rich. Regarding this information. But of course, it is probably not sufficient in itself to really say that this species was there. So for that, you would then need a combination of different monitoring technologies. Like, for example, if you combine it with underwater video or camera, and if you see, okay, the species that I have detected with my eDNA, I actually also see passing by from time to time. This, of course, then is a nice way to validate the data that you collected.
And to talk about collection, so I mean, I want an eDNA sample from very low in the water column. Do I need my diver again, or how do I get this and get this out and get this regularly? Because I guess it's the better, the higher the temporal resolution is, and the more I get. So how can I get this regularly? Is this already done?
Yeah. So there's different ways of how this can be done. So one way is that you have, it's literally, again, similar to the camera that is connected with a wire cable with a ship, that you have something hanging from the turbine or from ship or so, and you collect the water. But you could also, for example, put it, again, on the seabed lander, or you could also...
And how does it go up from the seabed lander then? Or is the entire thing sometimes then being lifted?
The entire seabed lander is lifted to collect the data collected from the sensors and the technologies put on it. But another way would also be to put it on a automatic underwater vehicle. So it's kind of like an underwater drone, if you want. Yeah. You put it on there, and this then moves around and collects data, also, environmental data, also over a larger area. So
that sounds really cool. Is that already something we see in the wind parks today, or is it more experimental?
It is still in development. So it is being tested, for example, in a German wind farm. Mm-hmm. But there's still like with these automatic underwater vehicles, they are quite promising. But offshore, there's also then can be strong tides, or the local conditions are sometimes challenging, so it is still being developed, but it is definitely something promising to cover a larger area, because a lot of these other technologies that we've discussed, in the end you need a platform where you put it on, either buoy, a seabed lander which are static, or then these automatic underwater vehicles which move around. And if you want to have spatial coverage, which is not spatial coverage, you need, for example, these devices. Or of course you could also have uncrewed surface vehicles, so again without people on it, and they then just go on the surface of the on the water surface. So this is an alternative which I'm just now also thinking, of course, to the sponsor of this podcast, which is the ORESA Interact project, because I think this is a perfect moment to also highlight again that ORESA, with ORESA, we are actually supporting companies like that who develop these, like this underwater vehicles which can monitor different things, and also the energy technologies for around it. So really good that you brought that up as well, because I think there are a few of those acceleration and a few of these new startups ongoing. Let's shift gears quickly, because we are talking about monitoring methods. We were talking about why do we need it and what actually environmental monitoring is. But I would also be really interested in, now, are there specific species here, for example, in the North Sea, which are really, really, where there's already mandatory monitoring for wind parks? Or is the current US administration right, and all the wind parks are killing all the whales and all the birds, all the sea eagles? There's a lot of talk right now. I mean, Empire Wind 1 in the US was put on hold, even though it's almost finished, for several times. Other wind farms on the East Coast are putting on hold. Is there something there which quantifies that these wind farms have these issues, or is it more nuanced than that? I would say it is more nuanced for sure. We already touched upon the potential positive and negative effects that offshore wind farms can have. So I think whenever we just look on one side, then we're just coming a bit short. But regarding what we already know and what is also required to be monitored, so maybe to give a little bit of perspective of when do environmental monitoring activities, when are these performed, when do they need to be performed? So in the process of permitting a project like an offshore wind farm, it is necessary to perform an environmental impact assessment that is also required by the European Commission. So there is a directive on this. And so, the way that it is handled varies from country to country in the EU, and also beyond. Like the UK also has this requirement. but there is certain similarities or certain commonalities between the environmental impact assessments and the requirements across the different countries. So, for example, species that are very common, let's say, to be monitored is, for example, birds, seabirds, but also migratory birds. Then also...
Staying very quickly on the birds. So are the birds now hit by the wind turbines?
So two recent studies, they show that in the study cases, there were no casualties. So there were no incidents where a bird was actually hit by a turbine spinning.
For the offshore wind turbines.
For offshore wind turbines, yes. So that was quite nice. This one study that I'm referring to that took place in Denmark also showed that there were no close escapes. So when a bird flies through a wind farm and the wind farm is operational, so the turbine, the rotor blades are spinning, that there were no close escapes that, maybe if the wind
almost got hit,
exactly.
or the bird almost got hit. Okay, no, it was not the case.
That was not the case,
They were fine, they were flying, are they avoiding it?
This depends a bit on the species. So there's different species respond differently to offshore wind farms. Some are more attracted by it. So we see higher numbers of birds in offshore wind farms, and others are rather avoiding wind farms. So this depends a bit. It's more on a species dependent.
And then, I mean, one last question on birds. Sorry to interrupt the animal kingdom there.
No, you're good, Ben. Sorry. Yeah.
So one last question on birds. Sorry to interrupt all the animal kingdom we have still ahead. But so how do I monitor birds? Are there small cameras up there? How do I monitor birds?
Yeah. There's bird cameras attached to turbines.
Is this mandatory?
This is mandatory for in different countries, like for example Germany, but also the Netherlands. It is mandatory to monitor birds in operational wind farms.
Okay.
Because birds, there's the EU bird directive that requires the monitoring of birds.
So we have the full legislation of the EU here in this podcast. Okay, no, cool. So we have cameras, birds, perfect. Next animal.
Okay, what comes next? Shall we talk about marine mammals?
I love them. I have mammal socks on. I have whale socks on. So shoot.
Okay, so marine mammals. There's also I'd say one marine mammal that receives particularly much attention. It is the Harbour porpoise. That, for example, in Germany, really gets a lot of attention when it comes to offshore wind. And there, what we see, or what the studies so far have shown, is, let me say first, the data is not yet sufficient and conclusive enough to really draw causal links and causal consequences, causal interpretations. But what we see is that they are in wind farms, but they rather do not approach operational turbines too closely. So they don't want to get too close to an operational turbine, but it's not that they avoid complete wind farms in general.
So they just don't go too close to it. I know for noise pollution or noise problem, it's a really heavy to put this monopiles in there. Do they just remember that, this was very noisy down there, I don't go too close? Or do you think, what do you think? We don't know, but what do you think? As I say, we don't know. I don't think that they remember that. I mean, of course, during construction, there's of course a lot of noise emissions because of the hammering process, at least for bottom fixed wind farms in the way that is most often they are most often installed. During operations of the wind farm, there's of course also some noise emissions because the turning turbine, the turning rotor blades, then also... so that might be also that they don't like the noise of it.
That could be. I just want to say, it is of course, if we compare it to the noise emissions from installation, it is much lower. But there is some noise, but it's also very important to mention Harbour porpoises and other marine mammals. They are highly mobile species.
Yeah.
So they are affected by the pressures from all different human activities. And then we also have, for example, shipping, which of course also is quite a rather big source for underwater noise emissions. So it is not yet exactly clear, what's now, which contribution.
We don't yet know, but how do we monitor them again? So where do we know that the harbour porpoises are not wanting to cuddle with the monopile of a wind farm?
Yeah. So one way, for example, is to tag a few animals and monitor their behavior, their routes they're taken. Then of course other measures that we already mentioned, like underwater cameras or eDNA.
Okay, this is getting too easy for you because you just these are all the methods. It's great that we can use them for many things, but how do we monitor phytoplankton, algae, and these kind of animals? Not animals, but these kind of organisms. So how do we monitor something which we can't see with the camera and can't touch and can't put a tag on?
Yeah.
So because those are also maybe impacted.
Yes, indeed. And it's also important to look at them as well, because I mean, in the end, we want to get to an ecosystem perspective. And for the ecosystem perspective, we cannot only look at the predators, but we need to look at all trophic levels. And
all trophic levels means like the entire ecosystem.
Exactly, like the different
food chain levels.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And in that food web, of course, phytoplankton also plays a role.
Yeah.
So for that, we can take water samples and then basically
do again eDNA.
Yeah, exactly, eDNA, or assess them differently in labs.
Okay.
Yes.
But that's also done.
Yes.
So we're also looking at the very small, not just the very big, but also the very small organisms in our environmental monitoring strategies.
It is being done. It gets a little bit less attention, but it is also being done, yes.
Okay, cool. Any other organism you want to point out still?
So
we have now
birds, marine mammals, maybe benthic communities.
What is that?
So benthic communities or benthic species are species that live on the sea floor or right above it.
Like corals.
Like corals, exactly. Yeah. And for that one, I think it's quite interesting because a lot of studies, they point towards having a greater diversity and abundance of benthic species around wind turbines, because we already touched upon the artificial reef effect. So things start to grow on the turbines. Then if mussels or so die, they might fall. So there's an enrichment of organic matter around turbines. And then, different species can start to grow there and feed upon each other. But the result of it was a joint industry program conducted in the UK, where they looked at the effect of offshore wind on benthic communities across different UK wind farms. And there they saw that it was actually, not much different to the offshore wind farms didn't have a great effect on communities. Yeah. They also explicitly mentioned that this is against the previous findings or a lot of other findings in different studies. So I think this is a nice example that shows that there's just still many unknowns. So
I'm just curious now. So how do I monitor the benthic again? So do I need my diver again, or is it again the cameras, or is it the eDNA, or is it all of that, or is it something else?
eDNA definitely. The question, how do you get the eDNA? Is you could for example have I don't know, a remote operating vehicle or so that's
like the ones we support with the Interact project.
Exactly, the one, these ones, that then go down and collect eDNA. Or it's more like conventional approach. You just take a grab. You grab a sample from the seafloor. So this would then be kind of coordinated via ship from ship. Yeah.
So you are really getting then the sample, analyzing it, and doing that over time to see, and also with reference sites where there's no wind farm and seeing what the difference would be.
And very important, in a study on the benthic communities in Belgium, they showed that over 13 years that they did this monitoring, the benthic community kept on changing. So it's very important. It points towards that we really need long-term monitoring, because just, ecosystems don't always stabilize so quickly. So if we really want to know what happens, we need long-term monitoring.
Yeah, no, makes sense. So, yeah, with all of that, is there still anything you want to add to this world of environmental monitoring now, or what our listeners really should know?
I think one very important part is that we briefly talk about data availability, data interoperability, that you can use data for different, that you can use data in different models. Because, as we mentioned in the beginning, environmental monitoring is all about collecting data.
Yeah.
But if you have only data that comes from very local sources, and you can't compare it to data collected in other wind farms in maybe similar or different areas, then it's hard to draw generalizable insights from this data that you collected. So it's really important that there are efforts to create standards for data collection. And this is really important that we further push this, that also governments across different countries collaborate on this, because of course we also want to get to a sea basin wide understanding in the end. So we need joint effort there to
So we need to understand. So we first of all need to standardize the data, get data from all different points.
So I would say we need standards how we collect data. So
standards how we collect data. Standards on our monitoring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then also, ideally, standard ways how we harmonize it, so that we can really compare it then across sites and across also monitoring technologies. Because I mean, even if we take this the same monitoring technology, let's say, I don't know, hydrophones or so, there's different companies that provide hydrophones. In the end, of course, you want to be able to compare the data collected via hydrophones from different different companies, and
And for many of those things, I also always have the feeling we only know what we currently know because we learn while we are going. Like for every new wind park we build, we learn more. And also, like from a cumulative perspective, like there's so many more wind parks to be built, as you said at the beginning. So we will need to keep monitoring, keep understanding that, I guess, so that we, in the end, so like we get smarter every time, but we will need to take effort to really keep getting smarter, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I think you mentioned a very important point here as well, the cumulative impact. So this is something that is also getting more and more attention on an EU level, also on national levels, that we better understand how different pressures interact with each other, and also how this then affects the ecosystem.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I think that is it.
Really nice, Sarah. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot for having me.
It was really insightful. So I learned today all about environmental monitoring inside of offshore wind farms, why it is so important, why do we need to standardize how we get this data, how we need to harmonize the data sources, how we need to understand the cumulative impacts. I learned about all kind of different species and different methodologies to monitor species, from birds, which luckily didn't get hit by wind turbines, from harbour porpoises and mammals, which don't like to be in very close proximity. I learned about the phytoplankton, which is just chilling there. We don't know exactly where everywhere, but there is a lot of that happening as well. About the Benthic communities, where apparently in Belgium it changes every year. Maybe depending on the mussel harvest every year. Belgians like their mussels. In the UK, there is no effect of the wind farm on the Benthic community. I learned about eDNA, about divers, about camera systems, about unarmed as well, but uncrewed vessels, which do the right now they're still uncrewed. Let's see how geopolitics turns out. But with all of that, thanks so much for listening in. This was Offshore Renewables Unplugged. I'm Benjamin Lehner, and thanks a lot to our sponsor, which is Interreg Northwest Europe, the Oraser project. Thanks, and see you soon.